braced yourselves where lives were torn apart.
It was a day for a queen to bow to a dead princess.
And you whispered to those in pain, now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name.
A day when traditions were swept aside, when a hurting nation filled the streets to say goodbye to a royal figure, seen by most as a friend. A day when we saw the strength of 3 princes and 2 children mourn their mummy.
And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills.
A day when grown men cried for a woman they never met.
We are gathered here to give thanks for the life of Diana, Princess of Wales, to commend her soul to Almighty God, and to seek his comfort for all who mourn.
It was a time for a brother to speak out about good and evil.
It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this. A girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age.
For the people, a last chance to say goodbye. So many flowers, the hearse was forced to stop to clear the driver's view.
Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
An historic day when a princess found her way home. Tonight, a CNN special program, a tribute to Princess Diana.
Good evening from London. I'm Bernard Shaw. What kind of day has this been? Look, around Kensington Palace, hundreds of people have gathered, keeping vigil by candlelight. It's been 12 hours since Princess Diana's funeral ended, but there are still tears. For the next 3 hours, we will take you back through a day that will live forever in the memory of one of the world's most historic cities. This was a day filled with tears and song, reflection, and silence. It was a day of looking inward for many, and for one, lashing out. London and the world said goodbye to Princess Diana. This is how this most remarkable Saturday began.
What brought you out here, Tim? It was a cold night.
Well, I feel that Princess Diana did such a lot for for many people, not only in this country but around the world, and I just feel that we owe her this respect.
Very early in the morning. What brought you out here?
We stayed out last night, and we just wanted to get a space by the front so we could see her when she went by.
Why is that important to you to be here today?
Just to pay my last respects, say goodbye.
Morning. Morning. You make this painting yourself?
Last night took me 4 hours to painting. I had a dream of
What made you come out today, and what made you bring your daughter?
Ooh, I think it's important we all come and see. Diana meant a great deal to a great many people. And perhaps my daughter doesn't appreciate that. Perhaps in the future she will. She might remember something of the day. And we do it as a family, really.
It's little Harry's place. It's such a shame.
I'm glad I haven't got that paper.
Never mind, Jill. Never mind.
It's a happy grief. People who've known Diane, even through television, newspapers who know her. Although she's gone, she hasn't gone. She's leaving behind a message, and that message is to the country and to the monarchy, get your act together. Sorry? Now.
The first time ever I lay.
You're sort of the unofficial musician here, bringing your own music. Was this a song you specifically chose to be here?
Well, I fell to pieces when I first heard this song, and I couldn't think of a nicer song. You know, British people, we think about the trivial things. We think about what Oprah must think in private moments.
You're from Wales. She was the Princess of Wales.
Oh, absolutely.
It must have a very strong meaning for you.
She was our life. And people in Wales are so gutted. They feel so... They feel as though their hearts have been ripped from them.
When we come back, we begin our coverage of the procession to Westminster Abbey. As we watch these pictures with our viewers around the world in 210 countries, a man who's written 2 biographies, Nicholas Davies, is watching these pictures, and I was looking at the expression on your face.
Well, it is the same expression across the nation. There must be many millions who can't make it today, but they will all be watching. And they will all be in a somber mood. So very, very different, Bernie, to those incredible scenes that took place in 1981 when they married, when the flags were waving and the people were cheering. Today, all of us feel as though it should never have happened.
These 6 black horses pulling the gun carriage, holding the coffin draped with the royal standard. We remember the royal standard covering the coffin when Princess Diana's body was borne by air from Paris to London by Prince Charles. Along with these horses, 8 mounted policemen escorting the procession, as well as 12 bearers from the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. Throughout this funeral cortege, every time 60 seconds pass, we will hear 1 tenor bell. Every minute, the sound of the tenor bell. Nicholas Davies, we're going to see something extraordinary when we reach St. James's Palace.
Yes, what is happening here really is that it has become a very personal funeral. Usually these great royal state funerals, as we call them, are full of ceremony, full of protocol, full of tradition. Already we can see this is changing, that it is a far more personal funeral than anyone would have imagined for Princess Diana. And that appears to have been because her brother, Earl Spencer, who she, by the way, brought up as only 18 months older, but they were very, very close when she was a child. He's insisted that it becomes more of a people's funeral than ever we would have imagined the princess to have had.
Nicholas Davies, a question rippling through the funeral cortege route has to be, Will they or won't they?
Well, I believe, as a result of yesterday, Bernie, that Prince Charles will walk behind the gun carriage, and I also believe that Prince William and Harry will walk with him. They were remarkable yesterday, Bernie. They warmed everyone's hearts. They worked the crowds there nearly as well as their mother's done 100 times before, 1,000 times before. And I feel they will want to take the last mile with their mother walking behind the gun carriage. No decision has been taken. It was going to be left to see how they could handle today. And that is why Charles said we will wait to see how they're taking the day. If they can hack it, they will walk behind, and I think they probably will.
As the procession moves here in London, the military precision is, if you will, very, very precise. The soldiers are marching at what's called dead march step. 70 paces per minute. Richard Blystone, everyone involved in this funeral cortege, officially, these soldiers, these horses, has been rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed.
That's right, Bernie. Certainly the British, we have come to expect the best of this sort of thing for the British. Curiously enough, they were not very good at it as recently as the middle of the last century, when there were many complaints during a royal funeral that the British don't do that sort of thing very well. They certainly do it well now. The men whom you see walking on either side of the casket there, the men in red with the bearskin hats, are members of the Welsh Guards. Diana, you will remember, was Princess of Wales, married to the Prince of Wales. The mounted man on the right-hand side of your screen, well, you've just missed him now, was the sergeant commanding. A couple of mounted men in the parade, and then trace bearers walking along beside. The 8 men flanking the coffin will be the ones who will carry the casket.
Christopher Hancock, a former British government official who is an expert on protocol and ceremonies. He has helped plan extensively occasions of state. Christopher, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Where are we now, and how is this unfolding?
It's unfolding very much as I had anticipated. For me personally, it brings back memories of Churchill's funeral and of the funeral of Lord Mountbatten. When we met yesterday, I spoke to you and I told you that there's a sense of grief which catches you as the cortege comes into view and precedes it a little. And watching the faces on the screen, I can see it happening today. There's that something that you can't put your finger on it at all. It's just something that precedes the coffin and catches everyone. Even the most hardened viewer of royal ceremonial is caught, and I've been watching the crowd, and as I said, there have been tears in the silence.
Christopher Hancock, the tenor bell every 60 seconds as the cortege moves down the streets here.
Yes, that's correct. It's a normal practice which has been, in fact, employed for about 700 years. It's recorded that at the funeral of Queen Elizabeth I, the same bell was heard marking the days of her life, and it's a normal practice that I would have expected to take place. If the Princess of Wales had become Queen and this had been a slightly bigger funeral, then Big Ben would have also tolled throughout the procession, as it did for King George VI and Winston Churchill, but not for Lord Mountbatten.
Christopher, let me interrupt you for
Yes,
just
sir.
a moment to make note of some very well-known faces, as many more will be coming. Actors Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, director Steven Spielberg, and earlier you may have seen Sting. And also Nicole Kidman.
Sorry.
The many charities that Princess Diana was involved with have representatives who will be joining in once the funeral cortege reaches St. James's Place. Throughout the past few days, we have talked to many people, and representatives of these various charitable groups have expressed complete ecstasy that they are going to have a chance to express their appreciation, to express their love for the work of Princess Diana by actually being in the funeral cortege. We were just looking at some of these representatives. As we watch the cortege move, this is Mohammed Al Fayed and his wife, Mr. Fayed, of course, the father of Dodi Fayed, who was with Princess Diana the night they died in the Paris accident Saturday night. Opera singer Luciano Pavarotti, he was so overtaken upon hearing the word of Princess Diana's death that he simply could not sing in London. And a few days ago, Wednesday, his office sent word that while he would not sing at Diana's funeral, he would be here. He is here. Singer Elton John will be singing at this funeral. And this is something he wants very much to do. Also, another of Diana's favorites, George Michael, who arrived in London yesterday. No doubt you have heard that Elton John has rewritten the beginning lyrics of what he will perform. Candle in the Wind. The funeral cortege is moving along Constitution Hill, and in a short while we're going to come into the area where Buckingham Palace is. Then they will proceed to St. James's Palace. Right now, another landmark, Wellington Arch. Prime Minister Tony Blair, who before the House of Windsor responded to public pressures and criticism, Mr. Blair was very instrumental in defending the royal family, as well as providing continuity. We recall he was the highest-ranking British official who spoke initially when the world was shocked by word that Princess Diana had died in the Saturday night Parisian accident. United States Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and his wife Nancy. There's one thing I want to point out to you, because once the funeral ceremony gets underway, you will not see this. Sir Richard Attenborough, famed movie director, we will not be seeing these kinds of close-ups. The Spencer family has requested that there not be close-ups such as this nature. So has the royal family. During the funeral, we will not be looking at close-ups. However, the Spencer family has said that when Diana's brother, Charles, the 9th Earl Spencer, and when her two sisters are speaking, the two sisters will be reading poems and her brother will give a tribute. When they are speaking, there will be shots of the Spencers. But beyond that, there will not be. The royal family. Watching this, among all our reporters, Richard Blystone.
Hello, Bernie. Well, the crowd and anticipation are growing here. The Queen Elizabeth has just arrived out in the street in front of Buckingham Palace, along with other members of the royal family, and drew a round of applause as she emerged from the gate. With her, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, also divorced from one of the princes. Sarah and Princess Diana were great pals, even before the time that they were married, and this certainly will be a heavy blow to Sarah Ferguson.
As we watch the cortege move along, Nicholas Davies, just seeing the royal family, led by the Queen of England, standing and waiting and standing is symbolic.
Oh, extraordinarily so. Never does the Queen wait patiently for something like this to occur. And the very fact that she's been seen waiting for Diana's cortege to come down Constitution Hill towards Buckingham Palace is remarkable. It is once again an effort on their behalf to show the nation that they really cared for Diana.
The leader of the United States delegation, First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton, is being escorted now into Westminster Abbey. When our special continues, the most remarkable moment of the day, 3 generations of royalty, 4 princes pay their respects. Westminster Abbey, the entrance. As the cortege continues moving, 70 paces per minute, every 60 seconds, the pealing of the dinner bell. And very, very shortly, at St. James's Palace, we're going to see 3 generations of royals. We're going to see the Duke of Edinburgh, of Prince Charles. And here we come. On the right, Prince Harry, who will be 13 years old in a week or so. His dad to your left in the center of your screen. And Prince William walking behind. And now they are stepping off. This is an incredible picture. 3 generations from the House of Windsor. They're leaving St. James's Palace. If you're just joining our coverage, the coffin of Princess Diana is moving now past St. James's Palace with her sons, with her former husband, Prince Charles, and his father having stepped in behind. The Dean of Westminster Abbey, the very Reverend Wesley Carr, and coming in now, Diana's mother, Frances Shan Kidd. She came in from Scotland 2 days ago, and last night she attended a very moving mass celebrated by the Roman Catholic Church. She converted to the faith 3 years ago. Two sons, Princes William and Harry, walking behind their mother's coffin as the procession continues moving methodically towards Westminster Abbey. For the first time in the history of Great Britain, the Union Jack is at half-mast atop Buckingham Palace. Normally, the royal standard, indicating that the sovereign is inside Buckingham Palace, would be atop. There was great controversy. Queen Elizabeth was criticized. People wanted to see a symbol of national grief, a symbol rather, and they felt that the flag flying at half-mast is what it should be. There has been a compromise of protocol here. In this country, the sovereign is never dead. You've heard the expression, long live the king, long live the queen. And Buckingham Palace was very concerned about this precedent. So the compromise was this. Once Queen Elizabeth left Buckingham Palace, then the Union Jack would be lowered to half-mast. The flowers atop Princess Diana's coffin. There's a card. There is one word. Mummy.
We love you, Diana! Always.
Now in the Abbey.
Queen Mother and her daughter, Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of England, being escorted by the Dean of Westminster Abbey, the very Reverend Wesley Carr. The Queen Mother is showing that this day will not deter whatever infirmities she has endured. She is 97 years old, and we have just seen her come down the aisle at Westminster Abbey with a cane, but coming down under her own steam. Princess Diana, a royal tribute, continues in a moment. As we return to Westminster Abbey to hear first from Princess Diana's sisters. The funeral cortege entering through the great west door is now in Westminster Abbey. All are standing, now moving slowly past the tomb of the unknown soldier once they step off.
are gathered here in Westminster Abbey to give thanks for the life of Diana, Princess of Wales, to commend her soul to Almighty God, and to seek his comfort for all who mourn. We particularly pray for God's restoring peace and loving presence with her children, the Princes William and Harry, and all her family. In her life, Diana profoundly influenced this nation and the world. Although a princess, she was someone for whom, from afar, we dared to feel affection, and by whom we were all intrigued. She kept company with kings and queens, with princes and presidents, but especially we remember her humane concerns and how she met individuals and made them feel significant. In her death, she commands the sympathy of millions. Whatever our beliefs and faith, let us with thanksgiving remember her life and enjoyment of it. Let us rededicate to God the work of those many charities that she supported. Let us commit ourselves anew to caring for others. And let us offer to him and for his service our own mortality and vulnerability.
If I should die and leave you here a while, be not like others, sore undone, who keep long vigils by the silent dust and weep. For my sake, turn again to life and smile, nerving thy heart and trembling hand to do something to comfort other hearts than thine. Complete these dear unfinished tasks of mine, and I, perchance, may therein comfort you.
Time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice, But for those who love, time is eternity.
When we return, Britain's Prime Minister quotes the New Testament, and Elton John gives us an unforgettable moment of this day.
Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. Love suffereth long, and is kind. Love envieth not, love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Love never faileth. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now, we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You are the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. Called out to our country, and you whispered to those in pain, now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, English road, from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you will ever know. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
When we return, perhaps the most controversial moment of this day, as Princess Diana's brother takes the pulpit.
I stand before you today, the representative of a family in grief, in a country in mourning, before a world in shock. We are all united, not only in our desire to pay our respects to Diana, but rather in our need to do so. For such was her extraordinary appeal that the tens of millions of people taking part in this service all over the world, via television and radio, who never actually met her, feel that they too lost someone close to them in the early hours of Sunday morning. It is a more remarkable tribute to Diana than I can ever hope to offer her today. Diana was the very essence of compassion, of duty, of style, of beauty. All over the world, she was a symbol of selfless humanity, a standard bearer for the rights of the truly downtrodden, a very British girl who transcended nationality, someone with a natural nobility who was classless, and who proved in the last year that she needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic. Today is our chance to say thank you for the way you brightened our lives, even though God granted you but half a life. We will all feel cheated, always, that you were taken from us so young. And yet we must learn to be grateful that you came along at all. Only now you are gone do we truly appreciate what we are now without. And we want you to know that life without you is very, very difficult. We have all despaired at our loss over the past week, and only the strength of the message you gave us through your years of giving has afforded us the strength to move forward. There is a temptation to rush to canonize your memory. There is no need to do so. You stand tall enough as a human being of unique qualities, not to need to be seen as a saint. Indeed, to sanctify your memory would be to miss out on the very core of your being, your wonderfully mischievous sense of humor with a laugh that bent you double, your joy for life transmitted wherever you took your smile, and the sparkle in those unforgettable eyes, your boundless energy which you could barely contain. But your greatest gift was your intuition, and it was a gift you used wisely. This is what underpinned all your other wonderful attributes, And if we look to analyze what it was about you that had such a wide appeal, we find it in your instinctive feel for what was really important in all our lives. Without your God-given sensitivity, we would be immersed in greater ignorance at the anguish of AIDS and HIV sufferers, the plight of the homeless, the isolation of lepers, the random destruction of landmines. Diana explained to me once that it was her innermost feelings of suffering that made it possible for her to connect with her constituency of the rejected. And here we come to another truth about her. For all the status, the glamour, the applause, Diana remained throughout a very insecure person at heart, almost childlike in her desire to do good for others so she could release herself from deep feelings of unworthiness, of which her eating disorders were merely a symptom. The world sensed this part of her character and cherished her for her vulnerability, whilst admiring her for her honesty. The last time I saw Diana was on July the 1st, her birthday in London, when typically she was not taking time to celebrate her special day with friends, but was guest of honor at a fundraising charity evening. She sparkled, of course, but I would rather cherish the days I spent with her in March, when she came to visit me and my children in our home in South Africa. I am proud of the fact that, apart from when she was on public display meeting President Mandela, we managed to contrive to stop the ever-present paparazzi from getting a single picture of her. That meant a lot to her. These were days I will always treasure. It was as if we had been transported back to our childhood, when we spent such an enormous amount of time together, the two youngest in the family. Fundamentally, she hadn't changed at all from the big sister who mothered me as a baby, fought with me at school, and endured those long train journeys between our parents' homes with me at weekends. It is a tribute to her level-headedness and strength that despite the most bizarre life imaginable after her childhood, she remained intact, true to herself. There is no doubt that she was looking for a new direction in her life at this time. She talked endlessly of getting away from England, mainly because of the treatment that she received at the hands of the newspapers. I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were sneered at by the media, why there appeared to be a permanent quest on their behalf to bring her down. It is baffling. My own and only explanation is that genuine goodness is threatening to those at the opposite end of the moral spectrum. It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this. A girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age. She would want us today to pledge ourselves to protecting her beloved boys, William and Harry, from a similar fate. And I do this here, Diana, on your behalf. We will not allow them to suffer the anguish that used regularly to drive you to tearful despair. And beyond that, on behalf of your mother and sisters, I pledge that we, your blood family, will do all we can to continue the imaginative and loving way in which you are steering these two exceptional young men, so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly as you planned. We fully respect the heritage into which they have both been born, and will always respect and encourage them in their royal role. But we, like you, recognize the need for them to experience as many different aspects of life as possible, to arm them spiritually and emotionally for the years ahead. I know you would have expected nothing less from us. William and Harry, we all care desperately for you today. We're all chewed up with sadness at the loss of a woman who wasn't even our mother. How great your suffering is, we cannot even imagine. I would like to end by thanking God for the small mercies he's shown us at this dreadful time, for taking Diana at her most beautiful and radiant, and when she had joy in her private life. Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman I'm so proud to be able to call my sister, the unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
Those are the words of Charles Earl Spencer, Diana's brother. We will discuss their impact later in this program. But coming next, the Archbishop of Canterbury leads the final public prayers for the princess, and the last stage of Diana's journey begins.
Thy will be done on earth as it is. We give thanks to God for Diana, Princess of Wales, for her sense of joy and for the way she gave so much to so many people. Lord, we thank you for Diana, whose life touched us all, and for all those memories of her that we treasure. We give thanks for those qualities and strength that endeared her to us, for her vulnerability, for her radiant and vibrant personality, for her ability to communicate warmth and compassion, for her ringing laugh, and above all, for her readiness to identify with those less fortunate in our nation and the world. Lord of the loving, hear our prayer.
Let us commend our sister Diana to the mercy of God, our Maker and Redeemer. Diana, our companion in faith and sister in Christ, we entrust you to God. Go forth from this world in the love of the Father who created you, in the mercy of Jesus Christ who died for you, in the power of the Holy Spirit who strengthens you. At one with all the faithful, living and departed, may you rest in peace and rise in glory, where grief and misery are banished, and light and joy evermore abide. Amen.
Alleluia.
The end of the service in Westminster Abbey is not the end of this day's story. There is much more to see and to hear. For outside the church, millions of onlookers were waiting to say goodbye. Diana's final motorcade is next. These muffled bells are designed to indicate a solemn moment of mourning. Leather holders have been put around the clappers to create this sound. In many places in Great Britain last week, people awakened on Sunday and heard this very sound in their communities, and that's when they knew something was wrong, those who had not heard about what happened in Paris Saturday night. We have heard as the car bearing the body of Diana, Princess of Wales, a very extraordinary yet refined and restrained expression of adoration here in London. Britain is placing for final rest one of its most esteemed daughters, now being borne by hearse through London's outer city limits. We saw seconds ago the tossing of flowers, and police authorities, especially between here, London, and Diana's ancestral home, are hoping that people on the overpasses will not do that.
I was really upset that she died. I was heartbroken. She was a really nice lady.
Did it help to see her, to be able to say goodbye?
Yeah. When the carriage went past with her in it, I said, bye, Diana.
Britons who have been waiting for hours upon hours along the roadway leading out of London are now having their last opportunity to applaud, to look, to reflect, to salute, and yes, to toss what we see, flowers, which have so scented the air, not only here in London, but throughout this great country. The cortege stopped briefly to clear from the windshield flowers, however lovingly thrown, which were obstructing the driver's vision. Barbara Mail, Daily Telegraph. And your friend now, coming down M1 here in Great Britain.
We will never have the like again of someone of such glamour, such colour, such light, and such life.
This is really the last village before the Spencer estate. And of course, all the services there will be private. That's closed. The gates have been closed for some days now. Flowers accumulating in front of them. And this is really the last place in England where people will have a chance to say goodbye when the cortege, when the hearse goes past.
Still to come, the people of the small cities and towns outside London say their final farewells and share their thoughts about Diana. As the hearse carrying Diana's coffin headed from London to the Spencer ancestral home at Althorp, it passed through a number of small cities and towns. Crowds continued to line the road. CNN's Bruce Morton joined the onlookers in Harleston.
In the early morning, even before the service, a few people strolled and sat along the road through the village of Harleston, last stop before the Spencer estate, Althorp. Some had come the night before. Some had watched the service on television and then come. More and more as the hours went by, they came and chatted, told stories about the beautiful princess, children and old people, ready, almost anxious to wait and talk and mourn, and finally to say goodbye.
We just had to come to pay our respects to Princess. We just loved her so much, and this was our way to show how much we loved her and how sad we feel at her passing. And I don't know how people are going to get over this, because it's so sad.
We really loved you, Di. Everything you did, we loved about you. Your faults, everything. You were just a beautiful woman who reached out and touched the ugly and the homeless. And the love that you gave them now, we're returning to you. And that's why we've come.
This is the end of the route, and I just felt that there should be someone at the end.
I need to know that somebody wonderful really has gone from us. And I need to be with other people who feel the same. And we need to somehow keep her spirit and what she meant alive.
And the Prime Minister's words, the funeral of a people's princess, and the words of the palace.
They waited 5 minutes, someone said. No, 15. I heard half an hour. They waited. And then in time, it came. Some cried, some applauded, many threw flowers. And after the cortege had passed, they talked about what they had felt.
We watched it all on telly this morning, and at 1 o'clock we decided to come from Wolverhampton, and we've driven here. And just as we got here, she went by, and it was lovely. I should never forget it, but it was very quick indeed, but at least we saw her go by.
Wonderful, really. I'd like to have been in London myself, but unfortunately I couldn't, so we came here instead.
Do you feel it was a fitting farewell?
Yes, very fitting.
Very, very pleased I came. I think in a million lifetimes, nothing could ever touch the grief of a nation of today of losing her. And to pay our respects is the best thing we could ever do for her. She was a true princess.
Yeah, very glad.
Why?
Because it's really sad watching a thing like this.
Most people didn't know Diana personally, but we just feel you have to be part of a tribute to her. And you really can't answer the question.
Much the same. I'd never ever met her before, but you just felt compelled to be a part of it. We've watched the funeral on television, and with her final resting place being so close to where we live, we felt that we had to come just to pay our final respects, along with millions of other people. It's been absolutely incredible. I can't believe the response.
lot of people said they hoped Diana's mission would live on. What that seemed to mean was not so much this one charity or that, but that people in high places would continue, as she did, to notice ordinary people, to be willing to listen to what was on their minds. You could argue that the people along this road were sending a message to the royal family, though they didn't put it that way.
It's just personal feeling. I felt I had to be here. She's been so supportive to everybody, and I wanted to be the same for her.
And then it was gone, rolling the last mile to Althorp. Diana's short, magical journey was over. People here were packing up, barriers coming down, flowers getting picked up, last thoughts thought. The most surprising thing about this past week may have been the many people who never met her, but mourned her as they would a friend, a sister. One man said earlier that she was to many a personal princess. That never seemed truer than on this last mile, as the last of Diana's many friends said their goodbyes. Bruce Morton, CNN, Charleston, England.
Coming next, the coffin carrying Princess Diana passes out of camera range for good. They are less than a mile from the gate at Althorp, Princess Diana's ancestral homeland. She represents the 28th generation of Spencers to live here. Her family has been here for a very, very long time.
This is a family that's been here for something like 500 years. They're deeply embedded in English history, military leaders, politicians. So, you know, Diana didn't grow up as a simple country girl. This was very much the landed life. The Earls of Spencer used to own just about all the land around here that you see. They don't anymore. People work at other things now who used generations back to be tenants of the Spencers, but they are very much the family of this part of Northamptonshire, no question about that. And, Althorp is a very major estate.
Now we see the motorcycle outriders approaching.
Keep right in there.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has entered the gates of her home. They lined the streets. They listened to the funeral. They threw their flowers and cried and prayed. Coming next, reaction from the crowd, from the people who helped make this such a memorable day. We have watched the funeral. Now let's see how this most unusual farewell affected the people who came to London to see it. We have 3 reports. First, CNN's Brent Sadler from Westminster Abbey.
A shimmering sea of people at Westminster Abbey. The bell tower struck a solemn note. Shoulder to shoulder they stood, straining for a better view, angling for the perfect picture, suspended in thought and prayer. Too many mourners in too tight a space.
We don't want arguments today, do we? No trouble today.
A funeral with splashes of Hollywood, stars of stage and screen. Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise and wife Nicole Kidman. Director Steven Spielberg among them, waiting patiently to enter the Abbey. Supporting roles in this theatre of sadness. The sounds of music and hymns from inside the Abbey drifted across a mass of desolate faces. A A few people tried to stem the tide of anguish and sang. Voices trembled. Then Elton John.
And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind.
Gratitude and emotional relief after the song to Diana faded away.
Your legend ever will.
If we look to analyse what it was about you that had such a wide appeal, we find it in your instinctive feel for what was really important in all our lives.
Earl Spencer's moving and courageous tribute touched the raw nerve of the nation, attacking the moral standards of a media obsessed by Diana and vowing to protect her sons from enduring the same treatment. As bright as a sunflower, as fragrant as a rose, the comparisons of Diana in death to the princess in life outstretched the imagination.
We shouldn't remember her totally in this sanctified way. We should remember this wonderful, radiant, very humane girl who did so much, but also a wonderfully funny, feisty human being.
As people went home and the debris was swept away, some pointed words for the royal family.
When they discarded her, they discarded us, because she was what they considered not royal, you know, and we aren't. And I think they've had a nasty shock.
Still, the flowers piled up for the dearly departed princess. The end for London of an exceptional and unforgettable day. Brent Sadler, CNN, Westminster Abbey.
I'm Bill Delaney on the Mall, the long boulevard leading from Buckingham Palace, where the minute of silence that echoed throughout Great Britain seemed to express more eloquently than words the depth of feeling about Princess Diana. What sound there was here a mile or so from the funeral service at Westminster Abbey on loudspeakers.
Never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills.
Elton John's tribute for many, the emotional crescendo.
Your legend ever will.
We want you to know that life without you is very, very difficult.
The throngs lining the Mall, though, reacting too to Earl Spencer's elegy for his sister, in which he denounced the tabloid press, demanding respect now for his nephews, Prince William and Prince Harry.
Earl Spencer was really strong on the issue of these boys and giving them a life.
I think that's the thing that the British public will take comfort in most, I think, out of the whole ceremony. You could see the reaction in the crowd here. Everybody, when he did his speech, was just so choked up, really.
Many had come to the Mall just to be there for the new history being made on a boulevard already steeped in England's past glories and griefs. Some especially fitted out. Most simply in street clothes, in which many spent the night on the street. This man driving 200 miles to pass the night on the pavement with his two sons.
At their age, they're going to, through their life, this will crop up and recrop up and recrop up, and I felt that it was a chapter in their life that they ought to participate in.
After the funeral service, Princess Diana's hearse passed back again, on its way north for burial at the family seat of the Spencer family. Thousands then surging down the Mall, the atmosphere loosening, if still sustaining for the most part the eerie quiet that covered so much of London for the past days of mourning.
Certainly, I think that we've now just got to get on with life, and I think the Princess of Wales would want everyone to carry on.
A long long, difficult farewell to a short life.
I'm Donna Kelly at Kensington Palace. Even hours after her coffin left here, people continue to come to the place Princess Diana used to live. For the littlest ones, a teddy bear can deliver a sweet kiss of affection for the princess. So many people told us they'd never seen anything like the amazing display at Kensington.
What a blessing this has been to show what love is poured out on her behalf. It's changed the world, I think.
Yards and yards of flowers and messages and candles that spread around tree trunks and pictures and goodbyes hanging from the branches.
And I've put it in my little note there that actually sort of reached out to the everyday, normal, ordinary person. And you felt that she took you in and she belonged to you. You've never met her, but you know her, you empathise with her, and you share her griefs, you share her tragedies, you know, follow her life. So we just wanted to come down this morning and say bye more than anything else.
And it's a pained, permanent goodbye.
It's not until somebody dies and somebody passes away, it's only then that you realise how much you love them.
Even after she's gone, people are still sitting down and reading more about her. They're in no hurry to leave Kensington Palace this afternoon to feel her spirit. They just don't want to let her go.
She was so young and beautiful, and she had 2 sons. She has 2 young sons who will have to live without a mother. And it's just a universally touching feeling.
One woman told us she didn't start to cry until Elton John sang Candle in the Wind at the funeral service, like a lot of others. And now that she's really gone, it's up to her 2 sons to carry on her light.
One estimate puts the number of people who watched today's events here in London at 2.5 billion. It was broadcast on radio in at least 44 languages. And for many, it was not just a program to be watched or listened to, but a moment to be shared. CNN's Stephen Fraser reports on world reaction to Diana's funeral.
We pray for the members of the royal family.
It was a world united in grief. An estimated 2.5 billion people tuned in from all corners of the globe to bid farewell to Princess Diana. In Canada, they did so with sparklers and candles in their hands. And with tears in their eyes. The tears flowed in Sydney, Australia as well, at a memorial service at St. Andrew's Anglican Cathedral. Flags flown at half-staff, flowers placed. And a lone bagpiper paid homage to the princess's style and grace. Australia's Aboriginal population honored Princess Diana with handmade signs and heartfelt dances.
I've never seen a man cry in our society. This one they did because they thought that she was so precious.
And for a precious princess, Russia presented a precious stone. This 62-carat diamond now bears the name Diana.
Well, I think it's a very emotional decision and a very understandable decision because Diana's death shocked everybody all over the world. In our country, Diana is known as a very human person. She did a lot in our country, things which she did all over the world.
During her tenure as Princess of Wales, Diana's compassion extended to earthquake victims in Japan, where in a Tokyo square, shop owners constructed tributes. Watching large-screen TVs, the grief-stricken gathered to honor the memory of a woman who had touched their lives.
I think she represented a lot in terms of what humanity, what's compassionate, and what we really should be achieving and looking for as people.
She did so much for so many people. I'm sorry. I can't talk about it.
Indonesians found it equally difficult to come to terms with the princess's death. Mourners continued to sign a book of condolences. Many sobbed openly.
She's my idol. She's everything. She's no other lady will replace her in my heart. She's the classiest ever. She's my symbol of elegance. She is one of the best things that ever happened in the world, and I believe that she already in heaven now.
Just days after a Jerusalem bombing, even Israelis and Palestinians found something in common. Their desire to say farewell to a princess, if only via television. From coast to coast, the people of the United States watched the funeral as if Diana were one of their own. In Washington, D.C., mourners gathered at the National Cathedral to share grief. Katharine Graham was among those who remembered the young princess.
This tragedy need not and should not have happened. The world should not have had to suffer the sudden extinction of a real star. But her luminous memory and her very real example of service to others will endure.
In San Francisco, a candlelight vigil held in memory of the princess and her charity work.
She demonstrated to the world that to care for, touch, and love gay men with AIDS was appropriate and didn't lead to anything but compassion.
In Atlanta, people gathered at a downtown park to say farewell. In France, quiet tributes were paid indoors.
I ask you to observe 1 minute silence in memory of Diana, Princess of Wales.
And mementos placed outdoors. For the people's princess, the English rose, roses marked the spot where she lost her life 1 week ago. Stephen Fraser, CNN, reporting.
We will return shortly with reaction to strong words and strong emotions from Princess Diana's brother. The echoes of the eulogy from Diana's brother, Charles, Earl Spencer, will reverberate around Great Britain for a long time. His bold attack on the media, his dig at the royal family, and his emotional tribute to his sister prompted strong reaction from those who heard it. CNN's Margaret Lowry has that story.
How extraordinary that a eulogy should prompt a weeping nation to break into spontaneous applause.
I stand before you today, the representative of a family in grief, in a country in mourning, before a world in shock.
Diana's brother Charles, the 9th Earl Spencer, not just the representative of a family in grief, the emotional avenger of a princess he felt the monarchy had abandoned in life, even as it now celebrates her in death.
She needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic.
Diana lost her royal title when she divorced Prince Charles a year ago. Protocol from the palace point of view. Pettiness, said Diana's friends and family. She was the ex-wife, but still mother of a future king.
I would imagine that the royal family are going to have to do some serious thinking. I do think it was a petty thing to strip her of that title.
Some serious thinking clearly has already occurred.
I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother,
and as an ex-mother-in-law.
First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself.
An ex-mother-in-law who took unprecedented steps this week after mounting public pressure to show the royal family shared its grief. She spoke to the nation in a live televised tribute to Diana, and for the first time in 1,000 years of rite and ritual, the flag of the land, not the monarch's flag, flew over her palace, lowered to half-staff. The Queen's husband and her son, her grandchildren, and Earl Spencer joined together in the funeral procession of the ex-Royal Highness to Westminster Abbey, where Britain's kings and queens have been crowned and buried over the centuries. Given all of that, some believe Earl Spencer's remarks were ill-timed.
I think today should have been about the love that we all felt for Diana. I don't think it should have, it wasn't the time to talk about the criticisms or the discord or the unhappiness that has surrounded this whole event.
The Earl spoke directly to a sister lost.
On behalf of your mother and sisters, I pledge that we, your blood family, will do all we can to continue the imaginative and loving way in which you are steering these two exceptional young men, so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly as you planned.
They are his own nephews, as well as the heirs to the House of Windsor.
William and Harry, we all care desperately for you today. We're all chewed up with sadness at the loss of a woman who wasn't even our mother. How great your suffering is, we cannot even imagine.
In a public life told in photographic snippets, it was Diana who showed the young princes life beyond the palace gates, not just amusement park outings, but involving them in the charity work she held so dear.
Young people who met them said, they're just like us. They're just like us. And I think that's also a really important bridge for someone in her position to have made between her children and the children who have had a much more disadvantaged life.
We fully respect the heritage into which they have both been born, and will always respect and encourage them in their royal role. But we, like you, recognize the need for them to experience as many different aspects of life as possible, to arm them spiritually and emotionally for the years ahead.
Sentiments echoed by the public.
This is something Diana has been trying to do anyway. She wanted her children to have a wider upbringing, this royal circle. And I think it will help the future of the monarchy in the next century.
I think it needed to be said, and he said it in the right way. And he spoke for the people. I mean, the crowd applauded him after he'd finished, so I think he spoke for us all, really. And I hope things will change now with the way the princes are treated in the future.
Some say whatever Earl Spencer thinks, whatever the public thinks, the royal family does not disagree.
I'm absolutely certain that he will find sympathy and support for those views from the royal family, and particularly from the boy's father, from Prince Charles.
I think the general attitude of the court will have to soften and take into account these very changed times we live in. All this has been focused dramatically in these days. Perhaps the character of the people is changing, because a decade ago you would never have had those open displays of grief. It would have been thought un-English and unsuitable. But times have changed.
And the royals have changed with them. Not so much because the royals embraced change, as change embraced them this week. Diana's death a catalyst for that in a solitary world which normally evolves at glacial pace.
Today is our chance to say thank you for the way you brightened our lives, even though God granted you but half a life.
A legacy, not just to her family and to her sons in whom she lives on, but to the other members of the royal family as well.
I would like to end by thanking God for the small mercies he's shown us at this dreadful time, for taking Diana at her most beautiful and radiant, and when she had joy in her private life. Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman I'm so proud to be able to call my sister, the unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
Margaret Lowry, CNN, London.
In a moment, we're going to talk about Earl Spencer's remarks and whether the media and the royals will take them to heart. And so this long week of grief and this vivid day of mourning have concluded. Joining us from our London bureau to discuss the mood across England is Una Mary Parker. She's a freelance royal correspondent and writer. With me here is David Harrison, a senior writer for the Observer newspaper. What did you think of Earl Spencer today?
I thought it was an absolutely monumental speech, Benny, to be honest. It was very, very impressive. It happens every so often we get this seminal speech which has a very profound impact on major institutions. I think we'll see this have a very big impact on both the media, but more particularly and much more long-lastingly on the royal family.
Mrs. Parker, what struck you about his remarks?
This is a man, I think, who is showing his grief in the form of anger at the moment. Very understandably, he's lashing out at newspaper editors whom he banned from coming to Westminster Abbey today, and the paparazzi, and even the royal family. It is true that Diana didn't want them to be brought up in the old way, and there's no chance that they are going to be. The Jesuits always say, give me a man for the first 7 years of his life, and I will give you the adult. She has done her work. That is her greatest legacy. And Prince Charles wants the royal family to move into the future, into the next millennium, and take the boys with him.
In your judgment, any truth in Earl Spencer's public grief?
Any truth in it? Not really, no. I think he's just very upset and very angry. I think some of his remarks, although they went down extremely well with the public and caused people to applaud for the first time in history in Westminster Abbey, were thrust from great bitterness and great sadness. But I think in time he'll realize that maybe some of the remarks would have been better said another day.
David Harrison?
Oh, I'm not sure I agree entirely with that assessment. I mean, yes, he's in grief, and yes, he's upset. But the public reaction to his speech showed that he'd really struck a chord, and he'd managed to articulate something that the vast majority of people in this country were feeling. And I think this is something that the royal family ignores at its peril. And the reaction suggests to me that the royal family has ignored this aspect, this dual aspect that Diana's brought into her royal role. What Diana has achieved is she's proved that you can be both royal, regal, and you can be popular too. And this is something the royal family really has struggled to accept in recent years. Diana's blazed the trail. I think the royal family would be foolish not to continue it.
Mrs. Parker, this royal family, buffeted by the unexpected and the unprecedented, how have they handled themselves?
Well, the reason they stayed up at Balmoral is not because they didn't care. They do all care most deeply, but because their prime concern was William and Harry, who wanted to stay at Balmoral with their father and grandmother, where they are protected, isolated from the press and the outside world, to have a few days of peace and quiet to come to terms with what has happened. The Queen and Prince Charles were constantly on the phone to London, working out every tiny detail of this funeral. Then the Queen realized that this wasn't being appreciated by the British people and that she had to be seen to be grieving. And I think in some ways the British people have been rather tough on them at this hard time. If anybody has lost somebody close to them, you know that you want to spend a few days just to get used to this terrible idea. But the Queen rallied, she came down, she brought her family with her, they moved among the crowds, they talked to people, they watched the flowers, and then she made the most brilliant speech of her entire career as a Queen, which I think pulled the whole situation round.
Where is Prince Charles at this juncture in his life?
Well, I think he's at a very, very difficult period in his life. I think Charles faces a major dilemma now. He'll be expected to continue the legacy of Diana, but unfortunately he is not Diana, never will be. He will plough on in his own sort of idiosyncratic style. I'm not sure it's one that the British people admire particularly. I think Diana has set the trend now, and it's really up to Charles to try to do something about it, try to give, it may sound banal, but it's things like demonstrations of warmth in public. Those children will need as much support. I'm sure that they will get that support behind the scenes, but from the royal family cannot afford to ignore public perception, and Charles needs to take this on board.
Very briefly, Mrs. Parker, what is your sense of the British people and where they are tonight?
I think the funeral itself was a very, very healing process for them. After the coffin came out of the church to make its way up to Althorp, this is something that's unprecedented in England. The people were watching, were clapping and throwing flowers. Maybe this is because we're now a multiracial country, so they're not so tight and stiff and mute about it. But I think the worst is over. We've had the funeral, she's been buried, and I think everybody is now satisfied that everything that could be done has been done.
The two of you, please stay with us, because when our special program continues, we will hear some of the poems, look at scribbled notes and written tributes to Diana. They are everywhere along London streets. Along with the mountains of flowers lovingly stacked along London streets are handwritten messages. During Princess Diana's funeral, our Richard Blystone talked with some of the writers and readers of these tributes.
Sometimes words just fail you. And sometimes
the words just kept coming. There's just so much to say about Diana. It says, Dear Diana, hope you can see how much you're well loved and admired. In every country of the world, you'll always be remembered.
Much is said by and about the gifts that made Diana the princess of the million flowers. But millions of words are better when it comes to sharing the grief, sharing the healing.
She is the royal family. She really is.
Can you tell us what you're writing?
I'm just thinking while I'm sitting here what I'm going to write. I don't know. I'm just thinking while I'm sitting here.
It doesn't have to be Shakespeare. Can you read it to us?
It just says the people's princess should always be remembered forever.
You stand tall enough as a human being of unique qualities.
So they stand almost in prayer, drinking in words, a secular communion. What are you going to say?
Basically that she was a unique person, and that she'll be sadly missed. Very special lady.
Diana, you shall forever be in our hearts.
And if you can't see, you can get some help. Read me some of the
You touched everyone's hearts. We loved you, Diana. Diana, you died so suddenly and left our world, but you will never leave our hearts. I watched your sons on TV today, facing the world and being so brave. Just
and the stars spell out your name, and it seems to me you live your life like a candle in the wind.
It is words that get things off your chest.
I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were sneered at by the media.
Like their uncle warning the tabloids off Diana's sons.
We will not allow them to suffer the anguish that used regularly to drive you to tearful despair. And beyond that, on behalf of your mother and sisters, I pledge that we, your blood family, will do all we can to continue the imaginative and loving way in which you are steering these two exceptional young men, so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly as he planned.
The royal family didn't have to see Lord Spencer to get the handwriting on the wall. The video signals have fled to outer space. The flowers are showing their mortality. The candles will gutter out. The words will remain. Richard Blystone, CNN, London.
People in Britain and around the world mourn the loss of a princess. But for two young boys, Prince William and Prince Harry, this loss is much more personal. They have lost their mother. CNN's Margaret Lowry has more.
Presented to his future subjects at the ripe age of 3 days, Prince William Arthur Philip Louis Windsor, the heir to the heir apparent to the throne.
William. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now 15, William suddenly faces a different legacy.
We are going to expect a great deal from him. In a sense, he inherits the mantle of his mother. He is the only glamorous member of this family, and he has got to come out into the open and bat for the royal family in a big way. And I think that is going to be very hard. Actually, Harry, the younger one, is going to find it much easier.
From their earliest days, they have been thus catalogued. William, the shy one, with Diana's tall, lean look. Harry, engaging, outgoing, mischievous. There was never any doubt nothing was dearer to Diana's heart than her children.
My first priority will continue to be our children, William and Harry, who deserve as much love and care and attention as I am able to give, as well as an appreciation of the tradition into which they were born.
She kept their one foot in reality, and what she was able to do was to show them real life. She would put a baseball cap on the boys, she would take them and give them a hamburger, she would take them to a theme park.
She wanted them to be in touch. That for her was the most important thing, not to be isolated. She was always keen to impress on Prince William and Prince Harry how important that was to stay in touch. I think that would be the single message that both of them will remember from her.
Like much of the royal family, William and Harry have been seen over the years, but rarely heard.
Yes, it'll be good fun. It'll be very good. Enjoy it.
As with this 1995 visit to a Swiss ski resort with their two young cousins, Beatrice and Eugenie, their public life is largely told in pictures. 13 years ago, Harry in his mother's arms.
I think he's even got to give him a smile, isn't he?
His proud great-grandmother showing him off. It is said William hates the press, but he tried to cooperate at an early age. It is Harry who first showed the media what he thought of them. William's first day of primary school, his first at prep school. At Eton last year, his parents put their differences aside for the day, posed for photographers, then pleaded for William's privacy for the rest of the school year.
Being a modern member of the royal family is an incredible burden compared with what it was. Newspapers, television, the media, crowds. You have to be superhuman just to survive it. Will these pressures now be passed on to a 15-year-old boy? A very good-looking, handsome, intelligent, bright kid. But that is asking an awful lot.
One of their mother's closest friends says Diana tried to prepare William and Harry for their public duties.
How much she loved them, which I'm sure they'll remember, and how much she cared about them not letting any of their position and trappings go to their head. She felt very strongly about that.
Tried to prepare them, too, for the private life she wanted them to preserve. These children of the House of Windsor have been shaped in equal measure by dynastic destiny and Diana. Margaret Lowry, CNN, London.
Please stay with us. When we return, a look at this woman they call the People's Princess. The huge crowds of mourners and the walls of flowers illustrate how Princess Diana touched the hearts of people worldwide. Once again now, CNN's Richard Blystone with how Diana transcended her royal status and became a popular and very human princess.
Saturation. No wonder she's missed. She was there every day, like the stars in the sky or the fingers on your hand. Custom didn't stale her infinite variety. Like Shakespeare's Cleopatra, she made hungry where she most satisfied. Cleopatra with the Midas touch. Nobody else came close.
If she was present at a function, wherever she was, you would raise vast sums of money for the charity. Just her presence was enough.
Majesty magazine once reckoned Diana generated $23 million worth of free publicity every year just by consuming. The trainers she wore, the mineral water she sipped, the car she drove. A female generation grew up wanting to be her. News and photographs of Diana, glamorous or scurrilous, could make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Her death has made hundreds of thousands of mourners. What inspired this harvest of flowers stretched along the walls of St. James's Palace? By any normal measure, it is too much. What kind of magnetism pulls a tide of people to wait all night to sign their names? 1 million people, 1 million answers.
She just hit everyone's heart. She just was a normal person, as well as a royal. She was special.
Just her love for, firstly, her family, and then for other people. And I think that's what we can all learn from.
The fact that she was such a very loving mother and loved children so much touched a lot of women, especially throughout the world.
I liked her caring for minorities like children and people suffering from all kinds of illnesses.
She's a mother. I could relate to her in every way.
She went and visited places, and she went to help get rid of all the landmines. She's just wonderful.
Friends say Lady Di always wanted to be a princess, not knowing what that would mean. As she learned, we watched a gallery of Diana moments. In love?
Whatever in love means.
Cradling a baby born to be a king. Here you see something's wrong. Pictures at a monument to love that cried, I'm alone.
And to give me the time and space.
The withdrawal from the glare. That in-your-face hairdo as Diana casts herself as the royal rebel. The stumbles and scandals, the search for a purpose. And finally, a real role in the crusade against landmines. Papers now call her the People's Princess, as though to say the people's, not the palaces. Queen Elizabeth never knew what to do about Diana's scene-stealing charisma, and in truth, there was probably little she could do. The royals were working from a 19th century script, and Diana, born blue-blooded but not royal, was not a portrait of frozen rectitude. She was fun.
Out of you.
And today, her flaws and foibles, bitchiness, bulimia, psychic healers, only make her more human. But surely she was not human enough, saintly enough, beautiful enough, or wise enough to warrant all this. Well, no icon before her dwelt in a media culture like today's, with myriad unblinking, unsleeping eyes. Technology's windows through which people yearn to share glamorous lives, share them all the way to the bedroom, all the way to the grave.
We wanted then to know every bit. You know, she thought, like lots of personalities, you can turn the press on and turn them off. And very soon she discovered she couldn't, that if you invite them in, then they want to stay in.
For all that power to draw, to attract, to charm, to comfort, to inspire, within the Diana phenomenon, there was a person called Diana who was trapped. A real person who loved the attention but hated the scrutiny, whose touch was comfort but whose tongue was sharp, whose quest for a new love kept going sour. The idol of millions, and one of her most devoted pursuers kept asking himself,
why she was on her own. Why did she always go shopping on her own? I mean, you see her shopping in the most exclusive parts of London, Knightsbridge, Harrods, places like that, always on her own.
For Diana the person, things went out of control early on, and despite all her efforts, stayed out of control right to that Mercedes ride. She died trying to break out of the suffocating but protective envelope that surrounds a royal. She was the daughter of her time and the creation and victim of its technologies, appetites, expectations, and obsessions.
We'll never see anything like it again. In the days of the early church, they used to have a process of canonization, making a saint by acclamation. Well, that's what we've been witnessing in London. It's been Saint Diana.
If mourning Diana evolves into a cult of Diana, the woman who's lived in everyone's house may stay with us a while longer. But a cult of Saint Diana is the last thing her family wants, which is why she will lie not in the family chapel outside their estate, but on an island in a lake well within it. Richard Blystone, CNN, London.
More on the outpouring of emotion around the world when we come back. The American editor for The Times of London will join our other guests in a moment. Joining us from Washington to discuss Princess Diana's life and death and her impact around the world is Bronwyn Maddox, the American editor and Washington bureau chief for The Times of London. Ms. Maddox, when you hear the phrase, the reference, Saint Diana, what must you be thinking?
Well, what I'm thinking is that those pictures we've seen of the reaction to her around the world are really extraordinary. When you think of how many pop stars try and claw their reputation from country to country, and she seemed to do it so effortlessly. To me, I think her impact internationally, her international role was the one that she was most at home with. She got much less criticism for that than she did in England, where people did take sides, not always her side, on the breakup of the marriage. But internationally, people saw her as the humanitarian. They saw the pictures. They didn't hear many of the words, but they saw the pictures, and the pictures looked great. And people loved her. And I think that message of her international appeal is another one, yet another one, the Queen is going to have to take.
Earl Spencer, her brother's tribute today. A crosshair speech propelled by anger?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Her brother's speech, Earl Spencer's speech today at Westminster Abbey, was it a crosshair speech directly aimed and propelled by anger?
There was obviously a lot of anger behind it, directed at the press and at the royal family. Britain may have changed, but that's probably about as rude as you can be to the Queen, to her face in public, particularly in front of an audience of a couple of billion. What happens as a result of that is the question now. Like his sister, he stole the show, I think. Like his sister, he raised an element of conflict and left the story dangling. And he has now set up this picture of the Spencer family at odds in emotion, in spirit, if you like, with the Windsors. And that is the story the nation is now going to watch play out.
As this week has played out, how have you felt as a British subject?
I felt very, very moved, and in a personal way, just very shocked in a way that when I go back to London, Diana won't be there. There won't be the traffic jams in Chelsea when she comes out of the gym. It was the ordinary way. She was quite an obvious part of London life. I miss that, but I have been very surprised at how touched people were over here. You go into the shops today, you hear just snatches of phrases, just maybe the word 36, and you know they're talking about Diana. If they hear a British accent, they turn immediately and interrogate you. What would Charles be thinking now? Yeah, and so on. I've been astonished at that international appeal. I've also been puzzled because to me it was not clear at the time of her death what she was going to do with that international popularity. She had it to an extent politicians can only dream of, but she wasn't a politician. She was beginning to step into political territory. I'm not sure that she was going to pull it off, and I think that part of the story as well remains unclear.
Here in London, Mrs. Parker, any concerns about how the world might perceive what is going on here in Great Britain?
I hope they don't misunderstand the situation, because for William's sake, as much as anybody's, we don't want a rift to appear between the royal family and the Spencer family. After all, the boys are half Windsor as well as half Spencer. I actually think one must take a very positive attitude. Diana's charity work will continue and everybody will see that happens. This week alone, £120 million has been sent in donations to Kensington Palace, and a trust has been set up. So I think with that ongoing, and her sons growing up in her likeness, we should look forward very positively to the future of the royal family as well as Britain.
David Harrison, what of the boys?
Well, I think this is I mean, to state the obvious, this is going to be a terribly difficult period for them now. But what they do have is I think they've got massive public support. You've got everybody in the country wanting them to do well, to come through this appalling trauma. And I think the signs we've seen over this week, from the way they've behaved and the public reaction to them, are very good. That here are two obviously intelligent and dignified, well-behaved boys. And I think from their point of view, the future looks good. The question is, will they now be given the guidance of the sort that Diana had blazed a trail with, or not? And I think that's absolutely crucial, because Diana's sort of modernised the royal family. She's given this sort of breath of fresh air. She's opened up the royal family, and the public likes it. And I think there really is no going back now. And a lot will depend on how the boys are brought up in the absence of their mother.
Mrs. Maddox, are you expecting any kind of a sea change in how the House of Windsor conducts itself now?
As the others were saying, it does turn, in the public mind, I think, on what happens to the boys, but you have to feel a bit of sympathy for Charles at this point. It's going to be very hard for him to try and mimic the same things, of taking them to adventure playgrounds and to theme parks and so on. I think that is genuinely going to be hard, but what we saw today and on Friday when the Queen gave her speeches, they are trying. It may still look stiff to the rest of the world, comically stiff, but they are trying. Whether it makes any real difference, to me the big questions are the succession, whether Charles will take over, whether William wants the job, what it will look like at the point when he does take it over. And those are not the ones that are going to be addressed immediately, but those have to stand as the real questions. You know, who is next King of England?
And very succinctly to each of our guests, beginning with you, Ms. Maddox, what is Princess Diana's legacy?
The power of celebrity, the power of beauty, the power of a single message of being interested in other people, the power of that to reach across countries, which I am astonished by.
Mrs. Parker.
I think her greatest legacy will be William and Harry, whom she simply adored, and they adore her, and our thoughts are with them at this time. But they will be a living example of how one should live, as Diana planned.
David?
I think there are many legacies, but William and Harry obviously stand out as the most important. But there's also the legacy that she's told us about the power of the media and how that can be used in both positive and negative ways. And I think that's another legacy is I think she's opened up the royal family to in a way that is appealing to the public, and I think she's really set the pattern for the future.
David Harrison, Mrs. Una Mary Parker here in London, and to you, Mrs. Maddox, in our Washington Bureau. Each of you, thank you very, very much for joining us. Well, we have seen so utterly much this day, and yet there is more. Please stay with us for one final look. Britain has lost one of its most esteemed daughters, as have we of the world, looking in, hurting, and thick with reflection. We're going to mark down this day, and generations to come will know it, but it's ours to feel. For all of us at CNN, I'm Bernard Shaw, and we say goodbye from London, as Elton John says, goodbye to the rose.
to our country, and you whispered to those in pain, now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Loveliness we've lost, those empty days without your smile, this torch we'll always carry for our nation's golden child. And even though we try, the truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you've brought us through the years. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, English road, from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you will ever know. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.